Um, while we continue to actually wait, the Squid Plumber
So,
being one of those guys is still on winner's side, but go ahead.
so Sentinel is a piranha plant or Rob main, so it'll be a little bit interesting to see which of the two that we go ahead and see here. Of course, Lakia typically repping that Corrin. So I think overall Piranha Plant gonna have a little bit of a harder time breaking through some of those walls. Meanwhile, Rob can tend to go ahead and shut out a lot of those sword hitboxes and everything. And so might go ahead and see the Rob over the Piranha Plant will have to and previously it has been the Rob when they have played at events like Fusion and King of Kings. They've played twice so far, going 1-1 either direction. The most recent one being in February of this year, going over to Sentinel. So it should be interesting to see how overall they have adapted to each other in preparation for this bracket. And this is the 49th and 48th seed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So should be a nice close match here.
Yeah, proceeding is going to be super interesting as well, and I do not blame them for picking Rob over Piranha Plants unless you want to go for a little bit of the good cheese, depending on who you're going to be facing in bracket. But Rob, again, considered to for many one of the best characters in the game so far. A lot of options that you have, especially when it comes to the juggle situations, and we've seen what Zomba can do with them as well. So no stranger to that character for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it plays out. Overall, you're probably going to see a big focus on how do we go ahead and lock Sentinel up in the sky if we do push him there in the first place. Of course, Rob having a lot of different options for his recovery routes, but Corrin being a very strong juggle character, and where Rob is that big body, not the best air drift overall, that's going to allow Corrin to really open up some of those frame traps and some of those juggle tools to dish out mad damage if we could set up for that.
Range is going to be super important for Corrin in this matchup as well, not only through the course of the juggle states, especially when using like the aerial movements, but also on the ground, just trying to stop whatever options or at least projectile options Rob is going to have as well is going to be super important for that matchup overall.
Yeah, alrighty. We are seeing the small battlefield pick, of course, that's going to go ahead and keep that center nice and open
Ooh,
overall. But, oh, okay. We are going to see the Piranha Plant immediately locked in. So a little bit of change of pace in what we were prepped for. I think the big answer here is going to be that Patui, right? That's kind of the
yep.
idea of, all right, you try to come in and swing on me and trap me. I hit you with that quick little Uno reverse where I pop that Patui to go ahead and stop you out. It could be a really good combo breaker. A little bit slow at times, but still great option. And then there is some massive kill power, some good edge guarding still overall, where you can feel pretty comfortable in going off stage with back airs, with some nair drag down shenanigans, or down air as well. Either way, let's go ahead and get started already. 14%, and Lakia playing a little bit of that slower pace. Let me go ahead and just bait you out, get you in, get the jab real fast.
Yeah, a lot of knowledge checks in these first rounds of the bracket, and I do not blame them for actually doing so. Sentinel is taking a lot of damage, and I really like that delay on the Nair in particular, having those active hitboxes just sets them up very nicely to actually to continue with those juggles. And like you mentioned before we actually even started, in that juggle state, especially when trying to shark the hell out of Piranha Plant, has been working out already up to 129%.
Ooh, does hit the tech right there. That could have been really bad for him, but now we go ahead. Don't get the strong hit of the F smash, but all the same, that was some nice, good damage from the sword.
They try to move in. I really like that golden pipe on the side of Piranha Plant. That's an interesting color as well. Trying to get the gold on King 2025 as well in Sentinel. Just bringing it back. And like you
Oh my
mentioned, edge guard
god.
situation. That's brilliant movement overall. That's a brilliant edge guard by Sentinel to
Dude.
take that first stock.
Yeah, that was really beautifully done right there. The Piranha Plant Nair just hitting at that nice, perfect angle to go ahead and set up for the horizontal coverage once more. That being said, a little bit of horizontal coverage coming in from the pin into the kick. Now, at this point, Lakia going to go ahead and try to find the answer here, but Sentinel saying, hey, it's my turn to do a little bit of juggle game. I know we talked a little bit about corns, but maybe Piranha Plant got a little bit more ladders in there too.
We're trying to move in that time. Actually, jumping and trying to go over whatever Corey wants to do is not exactly the greatest idea in the world, and he is going to lose a stock for it. We are continuing to move in. The rapid jabs already up to 13%, but still an advantage for Piranha Plant, which is something that we do not see often, especially in Smash Ultimate tournaments.
Yeah, at this point though, Corrin still got some great options here if we could just get the traps, but Lakia does drop it, and that's allowed Sentinel to break through only for a moment though. Now, at ledge, we get the pin, gonna go ahead and drop it, and a little aggressive on the F smash pull, but I can't blame you. Would have worked really well. At this point though, Sentinel going off stage to try to get a little something cheeky, instead gonna get that reversal. You gotta be very careful when you try to pull some of these traps, especially against a character like Corrin, who can just so easily pop that pin right there.
Yeah, moving out of the way cost them a lot, especially because that smash attack actually takes the KO pretty early. There's a lot of more survivability, especially when it comes to Piranha Plants, who is actually deceptively heavy as well. Now the multi-hit's actually coming in, sending them to the left side, almost getting them with a Patui that time, but still getting juggled by the Corrin.
All right, Lakia now off stage, and Sentinel with the accidental up B that almost allowed for a weird little bit of trickery there, but Lakia saying, hey, I'm ready for it, and I've got the answers here. Looking for the pin kick, didn't find it, but at this point, this is looking a little bit bad for Sentinel, but he does get that next stock, and 78% isn't too bad to come back from.
No, absolutely agree with you, Yin. And now actually trying to move in with the Patui one more time, trying to delay a little bit on the air and trying to mix up what Corrin really wants to do offensively, but now all the way up to 115. Super important to actually get that tech, and just using that projectile or that poison cloud more for spacing more than anything else.
Ooh, look at the combo into the Patui. Try to follow up with a little bit of a chomp there. All the same, now locked on that platform, does a good job initially of getting off, but Lakia with the immediate call out there. One thing I do want to go ahead and talk about and point out was I had mentioned that Corrin has this really phenomenal juggle game and frame traps. Maybe one of the ideas behind the Piranha Plant pick was to go ahead and snuff some of that out with a little bit of a reverse with the Patui. But we saw a couple of times where Lakia went ahead and just baited it out, right? With that quick little short hop fast fall. Let me go ahead and make you think I'm popping up with the up air. You pop the Patui, and I go ahead and respond in kind with my up air to go ahead and rack up that damage. And so gonna go ahead and just take what could have been a very good reversal tool in disadvantage and flip it on its head and make it so that, hey, you have committed to this move, it's very laggy, and now I go ahead and get this even freer punish.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially when it comes to Corrin's aerial game in particular. A lot of the moves that they have in their aerial arsenal, particularly Nair, are pretty long when it comes to being active over the course of whenever you're going to land, and mixing those up and actually fast falling or delaying it for the advantage that they want is going to be super important. But we see what type of adaptations we're going to come out with this next game, and already we're seeing a lot more Patuis than what we saw in that first one.
Yeah, and I can't blame him, especially when you take a stage like PS2 being the longest stage of the game. You go ahead, make a little bit extra range. Let's go ahead and utilize it with that Patui, but instead we're going to get utilized by the pin right there. Easy, quick kill, only 55% on Lakia's side here, as Sentinel already on the back foot.
Try to use a lot more defensive options. Patui coming in down smash is not going to get that regular get up option. Now down smash, actually hitting them to the side again. Now, one of the formulas, and we saw it on that first game, is going to be to make sure that Corrin does not recover well every time that they go outside, and that's going to be definitely a formula for success if you're a Piranha Plant, but Lakia is doing a really good job of just maintaining that stage control for the vast majority of the game.
Ooh, and coming down, dropping with that back air, and finding it a second time. Sentinel just keeps recovering high, and it's allowed Lakia to get on quite a bit of damage here. And look at that, even avoiding that Patui, but not going to avoid the grab into the up throw. Nice, good classic kill throw there from Piranha Plant. And now at this point, 82%. This is kind of the situation we saw, just, you know, one extra stock compared to the last game. But Sentinel this time saying, hey, I'm a little bit more aware, I'm a little bit more cognizant, I'm going to go ahead and try to find some more damage here. Love that shield into the grab, finds 45%, but Lakia just never letting Sentinel push the advantage state too far.
moving in that time. First game, he actually directional air dodged that correctly, but he actually gets hit that one time for 145, barely missing the tipper on that one, but gonna spring away. Actually using that lunge to take away that second stock. Super important for Corrin, try to get as much damage as they possibly can. And we're seeing it already with rapid jabs and the juggles with the up air.
It's looking pretty good. We got the jab coming through for a nice clean 45%, about lapped him in percent, and that is a bit of a problem here, as Sentinel has been really struggling to rack up the percentage and find the early kills outside of that first stock of game one. This time around, though, looks like we might be seeing a little bit of that turning point here. Doesn't get the nair, though, and that means that we are back in the driver's seat for Lakia.
Man, that was a really good attempt at the edge guard as well on the side of Sentinel, but already at 90% with 134 actually coming in. The core in the sweet spot forward smash actually being read again that time. Well, Lakia did prefer that option throughout the course of the match, so just that turnaround forward smash pretty much just catches all of if not most of the get up options that are going to be used, unless you're going to do like a get up attack, for example, that's invincible. But still, tremendous job from the side of Corrin. Those juggles were on point, and Sentinel really showing what Piranha Plant can do, just not quite going to be enough to take care of that one.
Yeah, and I like the fact that Lakia said, you know what, I'm going to keep trying this. I haven't been punished for it. Even though I haven't gotten it to land, that's fine. Let me go ahead and send it one more time. If I could just get the timing, that's going to be a stock. And sure enough, it came through right at the end there. And I think a big thing was just how we saw the recovery routes get mixed up by Lakia. Sure, the first stock was a very clean edge guard from Sentinel, but then even the one time where it started looking like Sentinel was starting to find it during game number 2, they just couldn't go ahead and seal it out there.
Sometimes it really depends on the matchup. A couple of interactions can really just give you a W on that front. But for example, in this particular set, we did see that there was a lot of things that Piranha Plant needed to do right to be able to take the stocks. Whereas for Corrin, it could have been just a matter of just holding the forward smash a little longer, and it was going to be a lot easier for them. That's the type of matchups that we might be seeing throughout the course of the game, and that happens sometimes. But again, great experience and great set from both players, and a lot to look forward to, especially if they can keep developing throughout the course of the tri-state scene.
You know, it was really good to see from both of them. At this point, though, we are going to go ahead and see Lofts